Future Now Show. Brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam.
A warm welcome to the viewers of the Future Now Show. You can find other publications and shows online and on YouTube. My name is Mario de Vries and I am your host today. We are very pleasant to present to you today Mr. Sesto Giovanni Castagnoli, who is an expert in the field of conscious living. Mr. Castagnoli, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the project, or maybe I should say the business?
Hello, Mario. Thank you for the invitation to this call. I'm very happy to join you all and to talk about consciousness living and how I approached it the last 20 years, let's say, or before I was in business as an entrepreneur. It is not so easy to live a conscious life, but let's say in the 90s, when I was living in Africa, leading projects, large projects, sometimes taking over, or at least trying to take over the largest company of a country in West Africa. So when I was leading this project, I learned about the African people, African mentality, and especially about the African humor. And when I started then, nearly 10 years later, the World Spirit Forum, I always quoted that my spirituality more or less started in Africa. So that's how my story of living a spiritual and conscious life started. And one of my main sentences in this time was always, when you walk in this time, especially when I came to Switzerland, I was living in Africa in the 90s, in West Africa, in the Gambia and Senegal, and walk through the Bahnhofstrasse in Zurich, then you see all these faces not smiling, and they always said in Switzerland they have everything, never smile, and in Africa they have nothing and always smile. So this was my major quote in these days. And
can you give us an example of the African humor?
Yes, it is a very special example. When I was living in Africa, one of my nearly daily guests was the captain of the president of his yacht. And he always came in the evening and brought more or less half a bottle of whiskey and said, we don't need only the Europeans paying us the whiskey to the other Africans. So I bring my own bottle. Yeah, that's, and then I think what they especially have is they never lose the humor, even if they are poor or they have nothing, they can still make a joke or about life, about living, about where they are staying. I think this is tremendously important for us to understand having so much and losing sometimes our humor.
Mm-hmm. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I think it's very interesting that you also have a background in the Swiss national table tennis team. Are there any learnings from being a professional sports player that we can apply on conscious living?
Yeah, I think it is more or less, for me, there's no difference between being a sportsman or just living the daily life. It is to be conscious always means for me to recognize that I have somebody aside. So, and even if it's a competitor, it is a human. So to be fair and to talk with him and to exchange with him, to know who he is, and all these things are, I think, today even more important in the sports world, which is going to be nearly only money oriented. So and the difference between being I was an amateur, so not a professional, but training 7 days a week like a professional. So and I did this beside my entrepreneurship. So it was quite heavy, but what I learned in these sports days was you have a lot of comradeship, so friendships, and they last till today. And actually, I played my last national game just before I went to Africa. So the weekend later, I went to Africa in the National League in Switzerland. So, and then I played there a lot as well with the Africans. So they wanted to play a certain, yeah. And that's another thing. You still play with people, even if they are not so good as you are, but I trained them and helped them, and it was, was nice, funny.
I can imagine. So would you say that maybe conscious living is the final step in the Maslow pyramid, the self-development, or is there any connection there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my connection.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go on. Yeah.
To explain maybe a little bit more, can you find the time or the motivation to work on conscious living when you are poor, or when you don't have a house, or when the other steps in the Maslow pyramid are not met? Are you able to self-develop?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I always said to people, you have not to learn the poor people how to be conscious because they are conscious by definition. So because they are more or less, most of them, if it's Africa, South America, India, let's say the poorer countries, they are born poor. So they learn to be conscious already from the beginning. So they learn to share, they have a different lifestyle. That's what I experienced mainly in Africa. So as I said before, that it's quite different. Their humor, their sharing, their friendship, it goes very quickly. So you have a smile on the face of the people when you smile as well. And I think the conscious is, I always said, is them given. So we have to learn it more or less. So because we are too, not narrow-minded, but we have too much in our mind, which and they have not much like material wealth, where so they have in their mind more or less very quickly the conscious of daily living. So they are confronted with the dead every day, and this makes you conscious. And so in my own experience, the nearer I'm 70 now, the nearer I come to an age where you sometimes pass away, the more you get conscious, and you have every minute where you really, even today when I was walking in the morning, you recognize everything, every minute. So for me, to walk is like meditation. I don't need to meditate. So if you look at nature and at the flowers and at the birds and whatsoever, so that's kind of being conscious about all the beauty around you.
Do you consider conscious living related to existentialism? The understanding of being a human being, or I don't know. It's questioning me for quite some time now that in what way we are different from the animals, and maybe animals is a higher living form than us. I don't know. They have. It seems to me that one thing that we have lost in our evolution is intuition, and that is something that animals still have. Instinct. I mean, sorry, I meant instinct. That is something we have lost. But yeah, it's questioning me quite some time. What is existentialism, the thing that differentiates us, and maybe conscious living is compared to existentialism?
Yeah, I think consciousness has nothing to do with existentialism, because it is something, for me at least, I have always to talk about me, is completely different. Because if I live conscious life, I'm living in the moment, in the second.
Mm-hmm.
So this much quoted word, being one with everything and all, I try to be this all the time, which is not so easy to reach. Or, for example, if you say to my wife, I love you, so this is something very special. But the most special thing for me is being love myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very difficult to reach, to being love all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it is for me the consciousness which is the main driver of this, which you really and it makes fun. That's the nice thing about it. So it is really how do you go out of the house? How do you greet your neighbor? The deers. How do you greet the deers? Even in front of us is a river with many deers, so you can exchange with them, and they feel it. So even the fish feels what you tell them when you watch them. So every deer has a feeling, and if you realize this, that we are really all one, I think that's the purpose which is acceptable and which is nice to reach.
Mm-hmm. I've also read that one of the aspects of conscious living is spend wisely, or at least somebody is saying that. I don't know if it's exactly coming from you, but what is that? Spending wisely?
Yeah, I think that again there I can choose my time, so I can choose not my relatives, but I can choose my friends.
Yes.
So I think spend wisely means for me.
That's beautiful. So it's not about money; it's about sharing yourself.
Yes, exactly. And with whom do I share myself?
Yeah.
So I can choose to be wisely that I, for example, make a day which I just be with myself.
Mm-hmm.
So just walking in the forest or making a long walk to the sea instead of always talking. So being in the silence. And that's for me is the choice we have every day. So we let's being a little bit sarcastic and saying I have not even go to work. It is my decision.
Right.
If I say, oh, it is wiser to stay home today, and just let it go. So because every day is only one day you have left, and you never know what happened tomorrow. So how do I spend this day wisely if I have no tomorrow?
Yes, but that is, for me, there is some kind of contradiction in that, because if everything you do is being done wisely and conscience at top level, is there enough room for trying and failing? Because people learn from trying and failing.
But there's more than enough room, Mario. That's why I said sometimes about 10 minutes ago, it is very difficult to reach some kind of station to be every day and every minute conscious. You lose it every 5 minutes. So it is always trying to be. But this is what it makes it interesting. So it always your decision. I once heard about a story about a very old American. He was interviewed in the radio, and the interviewer said to him, tell me, why are you always happy?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, it's very easy to explain. I have two possibilities, to be unhappy or happy. So I chose happy. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's what we have. We have this decision, and we can use it wisely.
Yes, yeah. I once read a beautiful quote from someone on one of the social medias, and it said, when I finally discovered the meaning of life, they changed it. So what she meant, it was a young girl, was that being happy is not the goal. It's the it's the travel towards becoming a happy person or a better person, or it's the that is what makes it worthwhile, because you never reach that point of being completely happy, because then the world is a different place.
Yeah, I think that's the road of consciousness. So it is always a road to go. You will never end until you die. You will never end. It is always a learning road. It is a funny book I'm reading just now about Italian alpinists going to the Himalaya.
Okay.
And it's fantastic book because they never go to a peak. But they go to the Himalaya on 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 meters. But it is the way they do, not the peak. That's their road.
Yeah, that's wonderful. One thing you are saying is that we have to take away the fear of living a conscious life or the fear of changing. How do we do that? When I look at young people, the generation of youngsters between 16 and 26, they have so much fears and so much doubts. And how can we help them?
Yeah. I'm always talking out of experience. I'm never talking out of hypothesis, by the way. And when I initiated the Yes Global Association with young people from all around the world, in the first meeting, we invited, 40 people from 20 countries, and young people between 18 and 26, maybe. So, and one of the things I gave them always on the way, even today, I have CEOs of companies, young, not even 30, asking me about fear. What do I do about fear? And I had just a dinner last year with one of them, and I said, have no fear about fear.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have this one in your brain, in your mind, then the fear is not approaching you anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because you have no fear from fear. You look at it, look at the fear, but don't fear the fear.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is as well, again, a very easy sentence. So somebody was asking me, just yesterday here on the street, next Monday, I have to go to the hospital. Tuesday, I have a heart operation. And she said, and she's a psychologist, are you in fear? I said, no, I'm happy that I can go. So, and she really was saying, well, what, she must be crazy. I could see on her face. So, but anyway, that's how I look at life. So if I change the fear to being happy or having joy, it is still the same, but it's completely a different mindset, which you can feel differently.
Yeah. Some people consider conscious living a habit that people need to develop. Do you agree with that? And the question is it even possible to teach people something new at a later age, when they are 30, 40, 50? Can people still learn something new?
Yeah, conscious living is every day a moment to learn. So even if you are 90 already and you are dying in 2 days, you can still learn about consciousness. So how you talk with, for example, when you had before not like a conscious life, but in these 2 days, how you talk then with your sons or with your husband or with your wife. So still the last day you can change, as we have seen many times when Kübler was presenting her book about people dying, and she was with them till the last moment. So, and we have a friend in the States who did the same. So, till the last hour, you can change your consciousness, and that's fine. That's fine. Sometimes with 20, another with 90, somebody
but it
never.
would be a pity if you if you only have 1 hour left.
So, but some people never change, and that's fine too. So that's their life.
Yeah, some people are perfectly happy with
Exactly.
the life they have. So how can we motivate people to live a conscious life?
I think it is more inspiring them by being self-conscious, and that people ask you, what are you doing, that you are always happy or nearly happy, or you smile all the time. So that's always the best way, being this example yourself. And so that the best is when people are asking you about what is it that gives you this kind of living. And then you can start to explain that you live a conscious life, and you enjoy every minute, and it's nice that even people you don't even know, so which we have many people here on the road, which just start to talk with us because you smile at them, or even strangers from Arab countries or other countries. So, and they start to ask, and you can start to explain them how you live, and then they start to be interested.
Can you share with us something that you have learned, the most recent thing that you have learned living a conscious life that can benefit others? Are there some takeouts? Is there something happened recently, maybe yesterday or last week, that maybe can put people on a different track, on a different path?
Yes. In my life last week, for example, as I said before, I'm not a person which has no fear. So, and since I know that I have an unhealable illness and I have to make this operation to live on, and to have more than my 20% heart capacity, so other people would have a problem to overcome the fear. Mm-hmm. But I felt, for example, last week, when you asked me about the recent feeling I had, from 1 minute to another, I said, no, you are going to make this operation, and you are feeling the doctors already now, the nurses and the people who are around you, and I started to meditate with them. So, and just changed from 1 hour to another into going right into the field of being one with them, who operate me, who will be there, who will nourish me. And I said, it's fantastic. So these people will only help me. Why should I have fear? Yeah. So that's the most recent, really quite heavy moment.
Did you have a heart operation before? Is this the first time?
It's the first time, yeah. First time, yeah.
I can recommend it. I can really. I had one, and I also had absolutely no fear, confidence in the hospital and the staff, and I can recommend it. It's yeah, it makes life so much better. But let's not talk about
great. Yeah, great. No, that's good. Thank you. It's always good to share.
it's absolutely.
But you are fine now, Mario.
Yeah, and I should have done it earlier.
Okay.
I waited too long, I guess. It seems that being able to be compliant with conscious living, a person should have a sound and constructive inner reasoning. And those are skills being taught by the ancient Greek philosophers like Aristotle and Socrates. But those are skills that are not being learned at school anymore. Is the new generation equipped enough to master conscious living? Because
Yes.
their inner reasoning is not well developed, maybe.
Yes. The maybe is good because the young people I experience, I have the feeling they are much further in their age than where we have been.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think the conscious they have is already so much higher when they are born than what we had. And the reason why this is because you know about the biosphere, and I had sometimes about 10, 12 years ago a speech in Kazakhstan about the noosphere. So they asked me to speak about the noosphere, which Tyler Desjardins and all these people spoke already. So, and the noosphere is around, is all the consciousness of all the people living at this planet. So, and the consciousness is rising every day because the conscious of the people is rising. And so I was always optimistic when people then said to me, yeah, but why do we have war? Why do we have catastrophes? And says, yes. So we don't see or give too much energy in this. Look at all these hundreds of millions of people who are raising the consciousness. Mm-hmm. And Roger Nelson from the university in the US, I had a lot of contact with him. We met as well at conferences, and he was studying with computers the consciousness in the world. And I remember over a decade ago, we made a meditation in Zurich, and he could measure when difference in the noospheric field when 1 million people in the whole world meditated. Mm-hmm. So and that's something I always have in my mind. I'm a very optimistic and positive person, so I always say we will prevail. So and it doesn't matter how we prevail, but we will prevail. Mm-hmm. And finally, it is our destiny. The planet will anyway prevail, but we prevail as long as we can. That's all we can do.
Yeah, but living a conscious life, how do you cope with tragedies? Because I kind of agree with you that the younger generations, younger than we are very conscious, but they are also very attacked by tragedies in their life. How can conscious living help with coping with tragedies that happen in your life?
Yeah, they can especially help because if you have conscious in your life, the tragedy is not anymore so high and the burden is not anymore so high, because then you understand much more how short a life can be. Mm-hmm. And how everybody, every minute can die, every second can die. So we never know. And so there is an old saying which are saying, oh, they have been in the wrong place on this planet or in the street or where the accident have been. Or, but I think the difference is the young people, they have this conscious, but having the fear not overwhelming them is maybe even more difficult for them than for somebody who has already some age. So, and that's maybe why the people around them, which are older, should help them to overcome. And the consciousness is a wonderful, let's say, not method, it is not the method, but the consciousness himself, if they're living the consciousness, it helps them to overcome tragedies or fear or whatever is on. But you asked me before as well, which I did not really answer, the inner self. Yeah. So with Aristotle's and all these people talked about, I think the inner self is inherent yet in everybody. So it is there, the soul is there, the heart is there. It is just, what do we make out of it? Every human, being 1 day old or 100 years old. So what do I make out of my inner self? And what do I make out of my soul? I really I'm the master of myself.
Yes. In a previous Future Now show, I've been talking to Lai from Sweden, Scandinavia, I think it was Sweden.
Yeah.
The inner development goals. Did you come across those?
Yeah. Sure. Nice.
So how is conscious living different from the inner development goals?
I think they are part of it. It's just one part of conscious living are the inner development goals. Just one part. But a holistic person, we talk a lot. So what is a holistic person? So to be a holistic person, I'm saying always, is not perfect. So we are imperfect. If we would be perfect, we are holy. And that's a long way to be holy.
Yeah, and can you be holy all your life, or because circumstances change and people change, and but you said about, you just now said holistic, being holistic. You said before the conscience of people is rising. How can we measure the level of conscious living, or anyone's level of conscious living? How can we measure that?
So I'm not really having an answer to this regarding measuring. For me, it is more, I don't want to measure. So I'm in this moment regarding consciousness, I'm despite Roger Nelson is measuring it, but I just talk for myself. I do not measure it. I feel it. So I feel that people have changed a lot the last 20, 30 years in their consciousness. There's a big difference for myself, how I feel it. And if I'm talking with people, seeing people, looking at people, what they do, there is a big difference. And I can rarely explain it, but I have to say I'm going with my feeling. And I have the feeling that a lot of people are more conscious. And that's my rising example, which I'm saying. I have the feeling that the consciousness is rising rapidly. Okay.
But living a conscious life doesn't necessarily include having an harmonious society. Everybody can be very selfish in their conscious living. Can you say something about that? Our society.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I said before, it will never be perfect. So because this is example, we have the free will. Everybody can live like he wants, and that's what we see in the world when we see in different countries what is happening, and we cannot understand, and we think, why are they like this? Why do we have wars? I don't know, but I think it is more than, I remember one time 60, 70 countries are in war, so we just talk about the nearest war we have. So how can it be? And that's exactly what the answer is to your question. So it will always happen that we will never have 100% of the people which are in the consciousness we are needing for this planet. But again, that's an example which we have left and right. So it will stay, and you have always both types of people on this planet.
But that means that even a criminal can live a very conscious life and be very happy in his criminal activities and be really conscious by killing people.
That's let's say I can't really say it is a good example of killing people, but what I can say is that I talked a lot with my wife about the people being in prison, and we always said we never judge. So we love them like other people.
Mm-hmm.
So because when you love the people and you never judge, that's what Jesus did already. Mm-hmm. And we have no right to judge other people. So, and that's why it is for me a tricky question. But in my heart, I would hate somebody like this. Mm-hmm. So, but in my consciousness, I'm saying that's his life. He has chosen what he does. Mm-hmm. So he must live with what he does. And he will have the pain. And these people may have, I don't know, but they may have a lot of pain. And even what they suffer after having done it, we don't know. But many, you can read about many of these things. So that's why it is a little bit like the fire. So I always, for myself, I always try to be love and give love, mm-hmm. Never hate or something else, even to these people. Because when I do something different, it's like making the fire bigger of hate.
Yeah, you are making now some references to Christianity or to the Bible. In my perception, conscious living is more Buddhism, a Buddhistic way of living. What is your opinion? How can both beliefs help in this respect, or we should learn from all beliefs and
that's true, because behind every belief is a human. And I remember when I made the World Spirit Forum, I always said I would like to have sometimes, it didn't happen because it wasn't possible, the Dalai Lama, the Pope, and the Hinduist people all sitting together on a table. And a friend of mine, very good friend, she's a lawyer, the president of the World Parliament of Religion in Chicago. And I talked a lot with her. We met a lot in every place in the world. And so there's always the same. You have the World Parliament of Religions, but finally, behind every religion are humans. Mm-hmm. And if they live conscious, it doesn't matter which religion they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Because most of the religions, there's Peter Spiegel from Germany. He had sometimes given out a small booklet which compared, I think, 20 religions. So they are telling the same.
Yeah. And
more or less.
Yeah. There are. Well, I think there are a lot of similarities, and that unfortunately people take it the wrong way because it benefits them on a personal level. But
exactly, yeah.
And yeah, we could talk about this for many more hours. But it's a show. Is there something I should have asked that I didn't ask?
I think you asked absolutely the right questions, and at the moment I wouldn't see any question you have not asked, so which I say, that must be asked about consciousness, because conscious living is just what we two exchange. at these 30 or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And what is coming to us is fine. What is not coming is fine too. So I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay, then a profound thank you to everything you have shared, and yeah, let's talk about this again. There is much more to explore, I guess. So from the Future Now show, we hope to see you all again next time.
With pleasure, and thank you very much, Mario.
You're welcome.